Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. Glad to see you. Mrs. Steve got me tickled right before the show started. But anyway,
Surely is.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Richard Allen. There's a lot of things going on, and new suspects have been popped up in the last few days. And so, as always in chat, no one's names of other offenders' names unless law enforcement has served papers on them or they're considered part of this case as far as law enforcement's executed search warrants or arrest warrants on those individuals. All other individual names, let's not put them in chat. But while you're in chat and everything, be respectful of the mods, families, and each other. And as the presentation goes along, if you have a question, put it in there. Mrs. Steve will be collecting them. And then after the presentation, I will be answering as many questions as I can. And we just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We've been extremely busy this week as I prep for a trip. And I'm absolutely so stoked, ready to go on that trip that we'll be leaving out next week, or I will. Mrs. Steve will be taking care of the home place, and so let's get started on it, I guess. Of course, if you have any information about this case, and if it's new information or information that you haven't seen that the prosecution or the defense is talking about, and you have some information, make sure law enforcement or the appropriate officials have that information for the fact that until a jury finds the defendant, Richard Allen, guilty, he's innocent. We apply that. Now, we each have our own opinions of that. And of course, I have my opinion about his innocence and guilt, and we all can have that. And it's all speculation right now. We haven't seen all the evidence, but I'll go along with the probable cause affidavit for the fact that law enforcement and the judges and everything have signed off, and there's a reason for an arrest. Although, like I said, it's still he's not convicted. So, as we respect the Constitution, let's look at it with being as open-minded for the fact that there may be other individuals involved in this. It's not necessary that Richard Allen is the only offender. Although the further along we go, the more I lean towards that he was a single offender in this case, for the fact that we don't have other people being arrested or charged or brought up, and we don't know all the witness list or what type of deals have been made, but we don't have anything going along that there's multiple or other offenders associated with Richard Allen. But like I said, that may come up in the future. But like I said, if you have information, absolutely make sure law enforcement has that. Okay. We're going to be looking at Psychopath. And regardless of this individual who was identified as a bridge guy and is the one that's responsible for the homicides, according to Carter, that this individual is one that made contact with the girls on the bridge wearing these clothing and ordered them off of the bridge and down the hill, and that he's the one responsible for their deaths, for the kidnapping and their deaths. And so that is strong. So that this individual right here, bridge guy, is absolutely a psychopath. Now, if Richard Allen is this offender and is him, then we have to look at what things are supported of looking at him pre-crime and post-crime that support that he is a psychopath. Because we have to look at a lot of other offenders that are out there that have committed crimes, that they were able to go out and commit these horrible crimes and be a serial offender and then go back into society and no one the wiser. They had, as we'll look at some of the characteristics and traits and observations of what the behavioral patterns of these psychopaths are, you'll see what I'm talking about. That just like with Ted Bundy, or if you look at the Golden State Offender, or Bundy, Rex, BTK, all these individuals were in some shape, form, or fashion able to go back into their family lifestyles, work environment, communities, and no one the wiser. Some people may have made remarks that, oh, you may look like the offender. And in hindsight, everyone looks at certain characteristics and certain traits and says, yes, uh, what I, that one time when I saw something, it makes sense now. And we have to look at those traits, and will it be also the same for Kohlberger, for the fact that all these individuals, regardless if they're a serial offender or, or and they commit this type of crime, and I'm talking more about this. These type of crimes from the psychopaths is different than the rage or in the heat and the passion of the moment. These type of offenders are extremely structured, targeting, organized, and they are on a path to fulfill a certain um, goal that they have to have in their fantasy, or their drive, their compulsion to commit these crimes. And it's different than what some homicides are. So we're on the opposite end of type of offender when you're looking at these psychopaths. Now, it doesn't mean that all psychopaths are instant uh, people that go out and commit these uh, type of tragedies, because there's some psychopaths that never commit a homicide. They may just be driven to achieve certain goals, but achieving that goal, even for those that are involved with the ones that are totally dedicated in their life and in the enrichment of their life, and as they build companies, corporations, whatever, that um, those goals that they achieve is due to certain characteristics and traits associated with being a psychopath. But like I said, not all psychopaths commit homicides, but those that do, they are extremely efficient and they're goal oriented, and uh, they're so um, focused that when you get in their path, whatever uh, you bring to the table, there's no negotiations on your part. They do not look at you as anything of value, or that your input or your opinion means anything to them. Um, a lot of them, they'll have that narcissistic um, trait, and it's all about them. But they're basically like the psychopath here, as far as we're looking at some very um, uh, focused traits of these serial offenders, and that the egocentric, antisocial personality, and they have no lack. They are marked by a lack of remorse for their own actions. For whatever they do to accomplish their goal, they do not care of what it pain or the death that they may cause, and they have no empathy for you or others, and they're into crimes, not just the homicides, but they'll have other crimes that they'll commit along the way as they develop into a budding serial offender, and then as they learn their skill set and they evolve and become extremely efficient, as some of them have, it's extremely worrisome for society that these individuals are out there. And then, and this is this picture here that we look at of this individual, which is Richard Allen, sitting there enjoying being in the company of his community, having a beverage, and able to stand there and interact, communicate in a town that has his picture of his composite on all the businesses, on the walls, doors, just windows. We've been there, and I've seen him in numerous businesses, and he is able to enter into those communications and people and discussions. How many discussions did he have with other people, not only when the crime was first committed, but what steps did he take? Within hours, just a day or so, he was able to go up to law enforcement and portrayed himself as a witness that he was on the trails that day and didn't see anything, had no interactions with the victims, and he was able to speak to a law enforcement officer with no one uh, uh, the wiser. And like I said, now, if he's the offender and he has those capabilities, he fits right in there with the traits that it takes to be a psychopath. It's supporting evidence that if he is an offender and the evidence that's within that probable cause affidavit that they have, everything from he admitting that he was there, he was within a few 100 feet of the girls and at a critical time frame where there's a window of almost impossibility of anyone else being involved. Um, if he was a witness, of course, he didn't see anyone else, and he says that he did not see the girls, and he doesn't mention seeing the witness that puts him in the exact location wearing the exact clothing that he says he was wearing on an exact platform at that critical time, and which is all huge evidence, and it's going to come in into court whenever it's presented. But his ability to leave that day and then go home, and also not only that, but during the commission of the crime, if he's the one that's involved and he's responsible for that crime, that he figured out a way to evade people on the trail, expose himself to a narrow window frame of where only we have a report of only one person seeing him from the time that he left that area, or the offender that was walking down the side of the road was only seen by one person. He was able to avoid so much, and everyone else that was out there that day, um, the family of Libby that had come to pick up the girls, he evaded them, and he was able to get back to his vehicle, get home, clean up, and with no one being the wiser. Absolutely critical data that we have to look at and analyze. That is supporting that there's nothing about this individual that says that if and I've seen people that are extremely emotional at some time that they may have created or been put into a position where a life is lost and they're unable to operate on any level. This individual that was able to not only commit one homicide, but two, that one of the homicides had to occur. And after that homicide, a second homicide occurred. And that takes a certain type of animal or creature. Let's go with creature, animal. Let's go with this creature was able to commit two homicides within minutes of each other and then calculate how to leave that scene. And was there other things that he did at that scene during that time frame, which is all supporting of a individual that has no remorse or other characteristics. But when these psychopaths commit these homicides, they they are extremely well planned, or they come up with a plan. Now they don't always, and like everything that happens in our daily lives, that we always wake up that we have a plan for our daily activities. And a lot of times, those daily activities don't go anywhere near along the lines that we think. Things pop up. And that happens the same thing whenever you're committing crimes. Things pop up, people show up, people don't go along with your game plan, and alarms, phone calls, anything and everything can happen. But they try to be organized, and typically they are organized. And but the crimes are not due to a heat of passion, as is of like some crimes are, especially even homicides that you see from other type of issues of where they're um, uh, based upon some type of interactions of anger and things. But from the heat of passion, this type of homicide has nothing to do with that. Um, no heat of the moment. It's something that they're driven, they've planned, they targeted, and that they do it for either the power, the control, and the sadistic gratification. And just the mere thought of being able to satisfy your own power through the death of someone else tells you everything you need to know about that mental uh, ability and what his thought patterns are. And we can't, as normal, everyday, uh, good, hardworking, honest citizens, truly understand this mindset of why someone can see any gains from the homicide and the power that you get from taking the life of an innocent child. Makes no sense. There's no way that we can make sense of that and understand it. We try to understand it, but it's just no um, understanding of it. But and for the control or for the sadistic gratification. It makes no sense for us to look at and think of why someone would find that um, and that it would satisfy whatever urge they had, excuse me, for them to commit such a crime. Then the because these type of homicides that when we look at what happened that day in Delphi. It was extremely cold. It was calculated and premeditated, more than likely, either for this reason that the individual, bridge guy, was well armed, brought everything he needed to control a victim, had a plan of action that once he had contact with individuals and the individuals entered a certain part of the trails across the Moonon High Bridge and got into an area of where they could be cornered, he forced them down the hill. And at some point, they were able to get across the Deer Creek and get to that location where the homicides occurred. And the coldness and the calculations to have that. And when we listen to his voice and he's talking and he down the hill, it's not someone that is out of control. It's not someone that is screaming and he. It sounds like it's a normal everyday activity, knowing that he is in the middle of committing a felony, the kidnappings of these two young children, and knowing that we at some point that he more than likely was going to commit these homicides. I believe he was. I think that the once the Libby and Abby stepped one foot on that bridge, their fate was sealed for the fact that he was letting them go into his trap. And once he caught up to them, that he forced them down the hill. And now they may have played a part as far as trying to escape and messed up his plans a little bit for the fact crossing that creek in those temperatures and things is not something I believe that he would have planned for. Um, Now, I do believe that he had a plan of taking them somewhere, either under the bridge, down on the road, or even maybe to the residence that was nearby that the family is normally out of town because he has certain information that of the community, and he may have known that family better than some, and uh, due to his job placement and understanding the community, and if there was any medical needs, issues, medications, and communications that could have occurred that he may have been aware through his job at the pharmacy. But then the psychopaths have the ability to be pathological liars. And the lying is that they have to create an alibi and they'll work and with and convince people that through their lying that they may even convince individuals that's related to them or otherwise that no, it wasn't me, it was somebody else or whatever. And there's certain types of situations where people will fall in, and there are certain syndromes out there that allow a psychopath and a absolute someone that has certain powers in a relationship, certain characteristics of their behavioral patterns that they are so dominating that their loved ones will absolutely just uh, fall in line with their request and agree and say, "Oh yes, yeah, you had nothing to do with it. You was with me," or yes, it's not him for whatever smallest reasons that this individual is able to convince them of that. But he re-enters society. He's able to go about his daily life with no signs of involvement and no signs of remorse. And we know this for the fact that the people that were going, even the family members that went to the pharmacy and spoke to him, and that certain pictures were made, and um, if he is the offender, his ability to interact with the families, interact with people that were talking about the case, interact that sitting in front of those composites, and the gratification um, that feeds this type of mentality is absolutely supporting evidence that he is and would be a psychopath. Um, Cunning and manipulative. Yes, as I was talking about earlier about some relationships that individuals, psychopaths, and dominating um, uh, individuals in relationship. And it doesn't always have to be a man. Sometimes I've answered calls where the woman was just as manipulative and dominating in some relationships as a man can be. It just depends upon the each person that's involved in that relationship and um, what their perceptions and um, type of personalities that they are. But these type of people plan for everything that serves their purpose. Uh, Everything is about them. Every conversation, every moment, everything that they do um, is how can it serve me for my interest and for my ability to have power, control, and satisfy whatever their needs are. And they go out and they target. Now, could he also have other interests that the psychopathic abilities would have assisted him in certain areas? Yes. But there are other parts, and we're not going to cover everything about the psychopaths because they're not the perfect human in that they do have shortcomings in other areas. But they all want to have absolute control, and they want to control everything, information, to create that alibi, to create that I'm not responsible, and they'll work those interactions through their friends, their family, um, people that would have said, you know, uh, you may look like this guy. Now, did anyone in Delphi at any point ever make the connection of looking at Richard Allen and saying, "Hey, um, is it you?" Now, and what was his reactions to that? And I believe there was communications to that fact, and I think that those individuals will be in court, and we'll probably get a understanding of what those communications interactions were, because we see that a lot of times where the prosecution will go out and hunt up individuals that had through being neighbors or friends or related, and they'll interview them and find out what did he say about this case. What did you advise him? What was the conversation about? And if there's certain key points of that conversation that would have possibly uh, placed him near the bridge, at the bridge, or some of his comments about the crime, they're going to look at those because they're going to look at uh, did he offer any remorse at any point about what happened to did he blame the victims at any point for what happened to them? There's a lot of different things that the prosecution and law enforcement that they look for, and when they find it, it's going to get into court. And it may come from his time in detention, being in jail, from the conversations that he's had with his wives or his wife and his family and his mother of discussing uh, certain aspects of the crime. Because we have, of course, where it's been brought to everyone's attention that certain information has been um, admitted to, and we'll just have to see where it goes to that. Uh, but like I said, being post crime and able to go back in there into society and to your family and your friends, because the individual here, you know, when you go out into town and you sit there and you're having a beverage, enjoying whatever, and no one is suspecting you of the crime, and even if they are, what pleasures are you taking from that? Um, because you can't show that you're remorseful or you're guilty. They don't have much of an emotional response. That everything. I've talked to some individuals in some pretty horrible situations, and they just, like I said, they're just dead flat pan. Nothing affects them. Um, the what they had been in had no effect upon them, and some individuals are like that and extremely callous, and like I say, a lack of empathy. But there, there's going to be certain aspects of this that how long was he out there that day, and was he totally focused on committing this act? We have some of the witnesses that spoke about some of his interactions on the trail that day as they saw him pre-crime, that this individual, as he approached the bridge, was focused and was not in a friendly mood, that he seemed to be uh, on a certain type of planned goal, or going to a meeting, or he was totally focused upon what his activities were, not communicating with the other witnesses. And was there something that triggered him, that this is going to be the day? And we don't know. Could it have been other interactions with Libby and Abby? Was it just that he was going to find any victim that day? Um, and what had triggered him? We really don't know what those triggers are. Hopefully, law enforcement will be able to say what triggered him, what was that great impulse, and because the individual took great risk, and that's part of this behavioral control. Going out and kidnapping two individuals in the middle of the afternoon on a trail that you know is occupied, and your vehicle is parked at the opposite end of where you're at, is very poorly planned. Now, were there other conspirators? Possible. We just don't know. But the further we go along, the less likely I believe so. And failure to accept responsibility. Now, for some reason, this is one of the things that I find most interesting. That is kind of our characteristics. Like when you look at Bundy, he absolutely never admitted responsibility for anything until the ultimate uh, uh, sacrifice, or not sacrifice, but adjudication of his sentence was about to be. He's about to be placed to that sentencing. Um, that only at that moment would he reach out and say, "I want to tell you about some other victims." And it takes extreme amount of burden for these people of the state to put on these individuals, and the stresses to make them um, confess to their crimes. Now, was the jail time and the sentencing and while waiting for trial, is that enough stress to make him accept responsibility, such as what has been stated about that he has made those admissions? And his attorney says yes, he has admitted. But now, what will they use to get those admissions out of court? We'll just have to see. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything to get them out of court. I think those admissions are going to be able to get there. But they'll look at this because most of these offenders, until they put in a corner and they paint themselves in a corner, that they won't admit to anything. And no one has painted this Richard Allen into a corner more than Richard Allen has. You know, he says, I was dressed that way. I was on that bridge at that critical time, and I didn't see these victims. I didn't see that witness that says I'm there. And now we have that bullet. If that bullet is able to get into the part of the crime scene, and that type of evidence is allowed in through the experts, we'll just have to see on that. If the bullet is taken out, then of course that is a great win for the defense. I don't think it will be. I think it will get into the courts, and of course each side will say, what does that bullet tell you, and what is the science behind it? And each side will have their experts, and so that'll be up in the air, because a lot of times when you have two experts, the juries just wash their hands of it and say, okay, all right, and they will go with other evidence, either through testimony and witnesses or otherwise. But anyway, with that being said, that's some of the things that we need to look at as far as the this individual bridge guy being a psychopath. Without a doubt, he is. And just wanted to discuss that for a few. Got any questions?
Yes, we do. And first off, I want to thank the mods. Tonight has been troll night.
Oh,
and
excellent.
We're clicking as fast as we can. So thank you, mods. Couldn't do this without you. If they keep coming, you know where the buttons are. That's all I can say. All right. So now we're going to hit up some blue lights before we get to the laundry list of questions here.
All right.
All right. We've got the first one, Miss Dog Lover.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Steve. Lovely to see you. What do you think the motive was for Delphi? Sorry if I've jumped forward. I just can't get my head around it. Well, if we look at the motivation of a psychopathic individual that commits a homicide, the motives is going to be that for the power, the control, or sadistic gratification. And so that would be the motive of a individual that goes out and commits these types of crimes. Because when you're attacking two little children, you're not doing it for their money. You're not there to commit a robbery. So you have to have other reasons of why you would commit such a crime. And so my bet's on power, control, and sadistic gratification. Good question.
All right. Now.
And thank you for your support.
Okay. Add that one. And then we're going to do Bama Sin gifted a membership.
Thank you,
Thank
Bama.
you so much. And Miss Brenda Birkenback gifted a membership. Thank
Excellent.
y'all.
Appreciate that. We appreciate all y'all's support. It means a lot to us.
All right. And then we have Miss Karen Boardman, 7 months membership.
Thank you, Karen. I'm glad that you're here for 7 months.
And
for many more.
Read your little thing down there.
Thank you for teaching me the way Ellie investigates a crime. Yes, law enforcement, from the first day that you go into career and you start your post-training, that's peace officer standards training, that when you go into that, everything's about investigating. From you start answering a call, every call that you go on is an investigation, and it builds you eventually towards individuals that will go into CSI investigations, homicides, and but everything is built towards that one goal.
All right. And next is Black Widow.
Super Sticker 5. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me get rid of that. And Miss
Grace, $19.99 Super Sticker. Absolutely. Thank you
so much.
I'll be using that on my trip.
You can get lots of coffee on that.
I will.
All right, so here we go on the questions. Miss Dog Lover, have you heard the supposed RA voicemail greeting? People say it sounds like BG.
Um, I haven't listened to it myself, but I have seen where, if it was where it was absolutely not possible, that would be huge. And of course, people in different camps are going, either people say yes, it's similar, or they're going to say no, it's no way. So everybody in their own camp listening, and we have to think about that out there on the bridge that day under those weather conditions, and was the phone at certain times in a pocket? Because there is, when you listen to the different times of being said down the hill, there is a little bit of difference in the vocals. Um, and how could that occur? It can, for a lot of different variables, from being put in a pocket, behind the back, changing. And so we just don't know that information. But um, uh, but I haven't heard this. But I need to look up that link. If anyone has a link for the voicemail, let me know.
Okay. This dude, Nick Marshall, needs to really go away.
Just ban him.
Well, we keep banning him.
Oh,
but
okay. He's
showing up.
Oh yeah, he's one of those guys.
Yeah, he just likes you so much. He just
Excellent.
keeps coming back.
Excellent. I'm glad I'm able to humor him.
Apparently. All right. And M. Cunningham, he admitted to his wife that he did it, didn't he?
Well, if you take at face value what the defense attorneys say, that he has made admissions, and now they're going to argue why he made those admissions, but and we have, whereas he made phone calls and it's was to his wife and to his mother at some point. So my understanding is yes, he made admissions to his wife on a government phone. So he's got issues there too. Not only did he paint himself into a corner by talking to law enforcement, putting him on the bridge, but also by using the phones within the facility to speak to his wife about his crimes.
Well, somebody asked if I had the power to do a more permanent ban, but it just flew up on the chat thing, and I don't remember who asked me that. But no, I've banned him myself probably 4 or 5 times tonight.
What they do, they go out and create multiple accounts. They have
Yeah.
these algorithms and
I'm
things.
still working on it.
And so, but yeah.
I wish I did.
But the good news is if he's here bothering me, he's not out bothering any of the other channels. So we take some solace in that fact that he's after me. So if he's if we can keep him occupied, I guess that's something.
Yeah, but he's becoming
a nuisance. I know.
A nuisance. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, and here we go.
Maybe let's get you 2 cups of coffee for the trip. Absolutely.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Get that one. Get that one.
I think, what's that guy's name? It's spamming. I think he might be a psychopath. I'm going to go with that.
You going to go with that
Yeah,
one?
he has a goal to troll me tonight. Yeah, so he's a psychopath. I'll throw it out there.
All right. And from Josh, do you perceive these calculating psychopaths are particularly more dangerous? Are they more or less common than others in your estimation?
They're all, no, they're all, when you look at Bundy, or if you look at Golden State or Rex or BTK, all of them are just as dangerous as the next. Anyone that will go out there and pray and plan and target and gain control of someone for the sheer satisfaction of and achieving any type of gratification from someone else's death, they're all extremely particular, dangerous. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. and there's no rationalizing which one is more dangerous than the other. Now, of course, the ones that, uh, from my personal perspective, the ones that target children and otherwise, the most uh, innocent and the most uh, unable to defend themselves, to me, are the more dangerous ones. Um, but um, uh, but that's just from my own opinion. But all the psychopaths carry these traits.
All right.
There's some good questions there.
That is. All right. And from DP, Mrs. Steve, can you give this two-part to Steve? Okay. Number one, does he consider you
Mhm.
a SK or a budding SK? So is he or is he thinking about it?
I
Jeez Louise.
I absolutely believe that he has committed other crimes. At what level, I don't know. But the ability of him being able to go in, commit these crimes, walk away, and there is the potential that there are other victims out there. Will they ever prove them? I don't know. But there is the possibility that he may have, due to his age, because that's a late start. But there would be other types of crimes that he may have committed. But I would not be shocked if there were other victims out there.
All right. And number two, had the dogs that were on their way to the crime scene made a difference?
Well, now some canines were at the crime scene. Now, what type of canines were there? I don't know if of what their capabilities were and what type of training they have, because there's a lot of different canine disciplines out there, from crime scene dogs to tracking dogs to cadaver dogs to water search. I mean, there's all different types of animals that have specialized training. Absolutely amazing. Now, the dogs that were turned around, um, uh, I don't know what their capabilities were, but any dog that was turned around, I wish it had gotten there and they utilized it just as a backup, for the fact that even the best trained dogs and even the best trained workers, we all have off days. And sometimes that can even happen with an animal. So the more supporting evidence and the more resources you bring to the table, it could have had an impact. In hindsight, we'll never know.
Frank is in the chat.
Okay.
All right. And from Junior, when does he go to trial?
Wasn't it right after the first of the year? I think is where they moved it to. I've looked at so many different trials, but I think it's after the first of the year.
And Lee and Susan have the same question.
Yep.
All right. And Miranda Lee, do you believe that this was a case of trafficking that went wrong?
No.
Okay. That was quick. All right. And Josh, some of the witness descriptions make it seem quite a feat to get out of there without later being identified, at least not for years. Do you believe RA was able to walk out with a sense of calm, casual?
Absolutely, because we know that within hours of the next day or two, when you talk to law enforcement and walking down, even the person that witnessed the individual walking down 300 there wasn't someone in a dead run. It was an individual walking down the side of the road. And if he's in that dark clothing, I don't know. I did some testing, and it concerns me. And I can understand where they might look at someone and say that they may have looked like they've been in a fight. Um, but seeing some of the other stuff, they'll have to explain. And when we hear it in court, we'll have a better understanding exactly what context of what does that bloody, muddy clothing look like, and how were you able to tell? Was it, and because that is something that usually on dark clothing it's extremely hard to tell, and so some of the details of that I approach very cautiously.
What time do you have to get off?
Oh, yes, we have to get off at,
It's quarter till, and I've got
okay.
8 more questions.
Yes, we'll go
Wow.
ahead and hit the questions real quick. But I'll get to her show whenever we're done with ours. But
Okay.
tonight, I'm gonna, after this show, immediately following this show, anyone that's in chat and stuff, I'm gonna be on Christian behind the crime door, and whatever topics they're talking about. If you have other questions that we don't get to tonight, follow me along over there at 9:05. Whenever I get there, I get there. But we want to take care of our people first.
Okay. Well, I've got 9 starred, and you've got 43 extra chat thingies. So
Okay.
there's going to be some that are going to get left out tonight,
Okay.
unless you just keep going
Okay.
past 9.
All right.
So just
Well, I think Ruckus may be on there, so he can cover for me until I get there.
okay. All right. And from Joan, Steve, what do you make of Ruckus's video saying other arrests are pending and the story is known? Do you think RA has started to talk?
I believe, yes, absolutely. I believe he started to talk, and he's painting himself more and more into a corner. And now, are other arrests pending? They could be, but those pending arrests can be from a lot of different directions. It may not be, um, you know, did someone assist him in creating an alibi, cover for him, or were they involved? Um, I don't know what information. I can't speak for what Ruckus uh, uh, for his opinion, but everyone has the right to opinion. They look at it, they evaluate what facts and understanding of looking through the probable cause, and they come to their own conclusions. I'll let him answer.
All right. And from Ann, Mr. Steve, thoughts about the local Delphi LE not being allowed the lead in this investigation? In all the other recent nationally discussed cases, it's been local LE and they've done great jobs.
Um, I they there was such a tremendous uh, response, an outpouring of help from all these agencies that created this huge task force, and some people just jumped to the forefront as speaking for this case, such as Doug Carter, with and was there some interactions with the local departments? I believe so, um, and for the fact that all agencies sometimes need help. And I never fought, whoever that head talking head is. In this case, with most of this is Doug Carter. Um, there's great responsibility on that, and I can't think of a better spokesperson than Doug Carter. He did a great job, other than on the composites. The two of them gave me a headache, but all the other times he did a great job, and he's still there.
All right. And from Mindy, do you think since they said others were involved, it will present problems for the prosecution if they don't arrest someone else?
Absolutely. I mean, this investigations, the defense will do their job. They're going to bring up these other uh, third party potential people that may be involved, and just to create that cloud of doubt. And that's what they're there for. And I can't argue with them, because uh, if they have the information um, and they have the ability to get it in front of that jury, then it has to be there. For that jury needs to have all that information.
And from Dave, Steve, do you think motive could have been as simple as a middle aged crisis?
No, no, it,
That was
that's more of the or a passion type of things. But no, this individual here, like I said, to be able, uh, if he was having a mental breakdown or something of some type of crisis, and if they'd found him there on the scene on the creek bank crying, broken down, that's one thing. But this individual here instantly went, changed clothes, cleaned up, spoke to law enforcement, spoke to his community for all these years, and no one was the wiser.
All right. And Christine, Mr. Steve, what has always bothered me most about this case and RA is why he would target Libby and Abby when Libby looked so similar to his own daughter. Do psychopaths normally do that?
Yeah, well, they target for a reason. Ted Bundy, one of his ex-girlfriends, same hairstyle, very similar to some of the victims. And is it some type, like I said, trying to rationalize this mindset and this type of individual is beyond, even the professional, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, you know, do they fully understand these individuals? No, I don't think so. Now they may understand certain traits and common traits that they share, and that in general. But these individuals, what triggers them to focus on certain? Could it been that Libby did look so much like his daughter? It is a possibility.
All right. And from Lockwood, Mr. Steve, can the crime lab match the bullet in the field to the lot of bullets at RA's house through spectroscopy? In other words, specific metal composition.
I'm hoping so. For that, if they still have the box of ammunition that's loaded in that magazine, and there's one round missing from a magazine, that does it match the other bullet metal composition, as you say, with that? Because when ammunition is loaded and it comes out of the same lot number, you have certain weight of grams of weight for the powder. You'll have a certain type of primer. You'll have a certain type of casing and crimp, and they'll look at all that. And if all that matches, then and it comes from that same lot, then that is something that will be brought out in court, I expect.
All right. And from Miss Grace, do we know what admissions?
I don't know verbatim, and other than it is to that he had admitted to the crimes, and so we'll just have to see what the exact verbiage was.
All right, we've got some blue lights.
$2, Cecil Hotel, super sticker. Thank you.
We appreciate that. And then we've got Mother of Dragons.
$4.99 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, and that's all I had starred. Now you've got 100 and something things in here, and it's 8 minutes till. What do you want me to do?
When you say there's 108 things in there, what
comments?
Oh, comment. You can pick a couple, three if you wanted to. If you see anything.
So let me go back to my time.
And like I said, while she's looking through that, we're going to be going over to Kristen Behind the Crime Door. Go on the YouTube channel, type in that Kristin Behind the Crime Door, and I'll be over there joining her and Ruckus in a few minutes, just after 9. I'll probably take a little coffee break, and then I'll catch up with them. But we want to thank everyone being here, and we'll be prepping for a lot of travel for the next week or two. I'm going to be on the road from everywhere, from the Midwest all the way out to Idaho. Get to work with Chris again. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so
I can tell Kristen that the troll may follow me over.
It might. He might. He's been rather busy tonight.
Like I said, as long as he's picking on me, I don't care.
All right, so there that is. All right, so I'm still
okay.
They like her. 63 clocks. What is the channel behind the crime door?
Kristen.
Kristen
yes.
Behind the Crime Door.
Kristin.
Yeah.
Behind the Crime Door.
Yeah. Okay. And Molly dropped a link in there for you.
Thank you, Molly. Excellent.
All right. And let's see here. Well,
okay.
I mean, I'm still cruising, but
all right. Well, what we'll do is that if any of y'all have anything that we didn't cover, if you want to ask me a question, like I said, I'll be over there for an hour and a half, and y'all can come over there and give Ruckus a hard time, and give me a hard time. But be kind to Kristen. Um, I admire her a lot. She is a great person. Has a great channel. Been here for a long time, and she has covered Delphi from, as far as I understand, she has volumes of stuff on them. So I'm looking
Wow.
forward to the show tonight.
Okay. All right. We are going to let it go at that then. That
All
gives
right.
you 5. Whoop. Nope. Let's see here. Dandy, are we going to have access to RA's trial?
I hope so. And I hope that I have better internet service by then, because if I
We're
do,
working on it.
we're working on it. We're working hard to get better internet so that I can start the trial process.
All right. And
True Crime 99 Super Sticker. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support.
We sure do. Hope you're doing good. All right. And let's see here. And Sky Ricky.
$50 Canadian. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your support. I won't be far from,
Yeah.
I don't know how far Idaho is from Canada. It ain't too far, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't
Jump on down to Idaho. we'll have some coffee.
Yeah. No kidding. All right. Yeah. Oh, this is good.
Solar Chef Steph, congratulations on the trolls. This means you've hit the big time. Keep the channel and the community growing, Mr. and Mrs. Steve. Keep being awesome. Yes, and we get our share of trolls.
Thank you.
But you're right.
Not like tonight though.
Well,
Tonight
excellent.
has just been
I'm glad. I'm glad it was
I'm
me.
glad it's you that thinks it's good.
Yes, because it's simple for me. I'm just reading the screen.
Yeah. Gee, thanks. And we are good. Thank y'all so much. And mods couldn't do it without you.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all. Stay safe. We'll have some type of show probably for the packing and getting ready to head out next week, but we'll be here Saturday night. We want to thank everybody for everything y'all do. Support this channel. Thumbs up, subs, everything, the donation, our mods, just awesome, our community. And we thank y'all so much. But y'all stay safe. We'll see you soon.